Our next guest can certainly take it as well. I'm sure he's got a few phone calls or emails along the way in his coaching career. As we mentioned, the North Dakota 3A playoffs begin tomorrow. 4 quarterfinals around the state. One of them will be out in Bismarck at the Community Bowl. Shanley will take on Bismarck. Our good friend Troy Mattern joins us, head coach of the Deacons. Before we get to the football chatter, Lockway told me earlier that he doesn't even, don't even go to his house. So I got to, what about the Mattern house for Halloween? What's that like?
You know, what's funny is my wife actually said to me last night, we forgot to decorate for Halloween. So today's Halloween, and it's,
late.
When you're at a whole different story or a spot in your life with Jack, man, taking them out and talking about getting out before it's dark. Our kids are older now. Half the time we don't even know where our kids are, but, yeah, we remember those days. I was just talking to my daughter on the way to school today about, do you miss Halloween? Do you miss dressing up? So we just had a fun conversation,
cool.
But it goes so fast. So in terms of tonight, we're busy with, my daughter's got hockey, we got team meal, we got practice. So by the time we're done with that, all the trick-or-treaters will be done.
Do you have a go-to candy? Do you have one that you have to have?
You know what? On Halloween, it's dots and milk duds.
Wow. Okay.
Couple hidden gems there, huh?
Milk duds is one that I've got a couple responses already. So, all right, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's all I got for you. I can let you go now. We're all set. So, you got to take coach hat off and put dad hat on for a second, because you texted me earlier this week. This is really neat. That your son Cooper is closing in on a pretty neat record over at Concordia, and the guy he's passing is a guy you coached as well in Griffin Neal. This is pretty neat.
Yeah, no doubt. Obviously Cooper's put in the time, and that's one thing that he doesn't even care about. Obviously, to put Concordia on the map with a MIAC championship or getting to the MIAC championship, which their goals are right in front of them. I've been really impressed with their team this year. They're very balanced team, very senior led, great leadership. But I'm excited with the next couple weeks of where that team's going to go. But yeah, obviously the history of Concordia football, we all know Griffin Neal, or most of us know Griffin Neal, how good of a quarterback he was back in the day. It's hard to believe that was, almost over a decade ago, how fast it goes. But it's funny because Cooper was the ball boy on our sidelines when Griffin Neal was the quarterback.
That's wild.
And he wanted to be Griffin Neal. He was probably even Griffin Neal for Halloween, as far as we know. I can't remember that far back, but so to break a record of a stature of Griffin Neal's and being, Cooper being around him when he was a younger kid, now being able to have the opportunity to surpass that, no doubt that's pretty cool.
54 yards away from being Concordia's all-time passing leader. That's a neat deal. The next 2 games for the Cobbers at home, Augie this weekend, and then Bethel. So you're going to be racing back then Saturday. This isn't crazy travel. You've had some wild ones. This one's not too bad at all then, right?
No, we'll take this one because we get to stay in Fargo, probably because really the last time we went out to Bismarck, we had to catch a flight in Minneapolis to get out to Seattle to watch them against Pacific Lutheran. So that got a little tricky. And then get back for film the next day.
Yeah.
And so this one is actually relatively pretty simple. But you know what? Time flies. I wouldn't give this up for anything.
No way, man.
To be able to celebrate, our kids on a Friday night and a Saturday night in our family with as big as football is. Again, he's done after this year. So we're down to one football player. and it seems like the blink of an eye, Cooper's career at Concordia has went so fast. And here we are coming to the end. Win, lose, or draw, he'll be done for sure within a month. So it's hard to believe. So we're embracing all of it. Jamie and I are loving it, and it's been a good ride for us.
That's good stuff. This year, you had to experience something you probably haven't ever before. You had a long losing skid. How did you handle that as a coach?
You know what? It's been interesting because you're right. Over my career, we've never had this happen. It's been humbling for sure, but everybody thinks a successful coaching staff is a staff that goes to the Dakota Bowls, wins a lot of football games. But I've probably been most proud of our staff this football season because we've had to coach probably more than ever. And we've had to fast track a lot of kids to get them varsity ready. So from a coaching standpoint, it's been, business as usual. It's just getting kids probably varsity ready sooner than we'd want to, just based on our situation. But, credit to the kids. They come to work each and every day. They know every Friday night, they still have an opportunity to win. We just haven't had that complete game. And it's what a lot of teams say when you're not winning football games. But again, this Friday night, we're going out to Bismarck expecting to win, expecting to play a good football game. We know we got a very good opponent ahead of us. Coach Gibson and his staff do an excellent job. Bismarck's a really, really good football team, especially in the bowl. There's not a lot of teams that come into the bowl and win football games, but our kids will be ready. And we've had a great week of practice, and we'll head out there and see what happens.
Tell me about the WDA this year. You saw Bismarck, which I'll ask him in a minute, but just from your experience of teams out there this year, is it typical from what you're used to?
No, it's been way better this year. Of course it's always good, but I think it's really been elevated this year, and they've kind of beat up each other throughout the season. We played, most of the West teams other than Century. We played all, and Williston, we played them all, and there's a lot of good talent out there, and that's why this 3A playoff is going to be quite interesting. It's going to be interesting what happens tomorrow night, let alone for the next month. But I think on any given Friday night, anybody can beat anybody, and we'll see how it shakes out.
You played Bismarck earlier this season. They won that game, I would say, handily. What did you, how much did you look at that film? Is that something, we don't need to see it again?
No, you definitely take bits and pieces. I think we're a much different team now. They're a much different team. When we played them the first time, they didn't have Schaefer. We didn't have Busick. So there's a lot of different dynamics that played into that game. But, Bismarck, I think, is playing at a truly high level right now. So we're going to be up for the challenge of trying to match them physicality. Because I do know, for one thing, we're not as big as them. They got some large human beings for high school football on their offensive line and their defensive line. So, but I think you still got to watch film, and Bismarck. We've matched up with them many years now with Coach Gibby and Coach Colby and what their staff does. They obviously have familiarity with what we do, so there's probably not going to be a lot of secrets. It's really going to come down to just the execution of it, and I think Bismarck High right now is executing at a high level.
See, I talked to him, Gibson, before he played you guys. Like, I don't know how good we are. I don't know how big we are, and they're 7-2, right?
Apparently you've never met Mark Gibson, huh? But yeah, I don't think he's been good I don't think he's ever had a winning season.
He's never had a good team, right?
30 years at Bismarck High. But a credit to Mark, and I want to give him a shout out, because with all this realignment in football, Mark had a couple years of down years.
Yeah.
He didn't give up. He stuck to his culture. He stuck to his staff. He stuck to what he does. And now he's back to the prominence of what Bismarck High is football. And that's what, we're learning a lot from that in our program, because we're kind of experiencing a lot of what he did a couple years ago. And it's not to throw in the towel. We're definitely not going to move down, because that would be the easy button for us at Shanley, because we have the option to play down a level.
Yep.
And we're not going to, just because we have one little bump in the road, we want to continue to play at this level, and we're going to play at this level. And we got to challenge our kids. We got to challenge our parents. We got to challenge ourselves as coaches, as a program. Okay, what this year, what was wrong? What was different? What do we need to fix it? Because next year when we come back, we have to be better than what we were. And that's not discounting what's going to happen tomorrow night, because like I said, tomorrow night, we're still looking to win a football game and head to the semis, which we've been in the last 3 football seasons.
Think about that. 2 years ago, Bismarck was 0-9. I mean, just they didn't win a football game. If you would have thought that, anybody would have thought that, Troy, no one would have believed you.
And it's funny. I was thinking this today. I was, you have the option to opt down, or you can petition. I wonder what that letter would say if Gibby wrote that, to petition down. What he would put, what his words would be. So, but again, we're back to the same boat of reclassification for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what's going to happen. I'm hearing one thing, I'm hearing another, but it's just, I really struggle with being a part of a 5-team league.
Yes.
That's not a league. That's not a conference.
Nope.
I continue to struggle with that. And at some point, the state has to say, you know what, let's get back to a true EDC. Let's take whatever it is, whether it's the basketball schedule, the basketball teams that are in the EDC, can that be the football schedule? But we cannot play a 5-team league. It's just not, it's not right.
How many times did you go to Bismarck this year?
We were out there, I don't even know, 3 times, and then we went to Mandan as well.
So 4 times. That doesn't make no sense. It doesn't make any sense.
But again, you played your first 5 games as non-conference games.
Right.
For us this year, it was okay, because we didn't have a very successful record against them, but in turn, we want to make sure that we're playing meaningful competitive games
Correct.
with our counterparts on the eastern side of the state.
The change of the playoff format, what was the reasoning behind that? Do you know?
I don't.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of it was driven by people just not understanding the QRF.
Okay.
I'm actually a big believer on the QRF. I know that's different amongst other people,
Yep.
but I want to seed based on the top 8 on how the computers rank us. It works for Minnesota. I thought it worked for.
I thought it worked. Yeah.
And it almost, ironically, it almost bit Bismarck. Because they're a 4th and 5 or a tipped pass at the end of the game from being out of the playoffs, similar to what Davies was a few years ago. So, what is the right answer? Nobody knows. But until we can get to a true 7-8 teams in each league, I just don't believe in this is truly conference football.
Well, I guess, we're not that far away probably from Horace and Minot North being up with the big boys, but that's what, 2 years away? I don't know if anybody wants to wait. No one wants to wait that long.
And that's the thing is why 2 more years?
Yeah.
And that's what I can't figure out.
Yeah.
The success, the success that those teams are having, whether it's Red River, no matter what, wherever we split it, it's the teams that should be in AAA are winning AA.
Yeah.
And it was no different when Shanley was in AA. When I first took the job at Shanley, my first goal was to move us up to the big schools because Shanley did not belong in that class based on the domination that they had. It just wasn't right. And I feel strongly that what I'm seeing in AA now is not right. Those teams belong in AAA. AA is not designed for the big schools. They are, and I got a friend, his rule is if you can drive to a Buffalo Wild Wings within 15 minutes, you should have to be in big school football. And I thought that's genius.
It's not bad.
That's genius.
That's pretty good. See, mine was though, if you had soccer and hockey, you're a big school. That's always I went with.
Yeah.
Right?
Very similar. Yep.
That's not bad. I might use that one. Because how far away are we from Kindred or Castleton being big schools as well? We're not that far, especially for Castleton.
It sounds like the next rotation is going to be them in AA.
Yeah.
And at what point, I know there's talk of, I think it's Castleton being part of EDC basketball here in the next couple of years. But again, I'm one voice. My voice means nothing, but at some point we have to get back to a true conference where we can play the teams that we're playing in all other sports on our side of the state.
Last thing before I let you go, Moorhead plays Alexandria tomorrow. What's the under-over on how many times Feeney decides to throw the ball tomorrow?
Aren't they a fun team to watch?
Oh, my gosh. But you can't even recognize them. When you coached with them, you ran the ball 75 times.
Well, exactly. And I was the receiver coach, So that's why I got all this pent-up demand of me running plays now because Coach Feeney scarred me for life of all the times we didn't pass the ball, so I got to make up for it. But if you're going to Moorhead should actually put all their tickets on StubHub because every time Moorhead and Alex play, it's the best game in high school football every single year. And that's a $200 ticket. Kevin could run his program for 5 years based on ticket revenue if he did it right because I'm always intrigued by their games because Moorhead's either up 2 scores, 3 scores, Alex will come back, vice versa. It's even this year their regular season game was a wild
dynamite.
Game, so, but there's a lot of talent on those 2 teams, no doubt.
It's great to see you, bud. Thanks so much for the time. Safe travels this weekend. Good luck, and good luck on Saturday with the Cobbers as well. Okay.
All right, Dom, I appreciate it. Take care.
Good to see you. There goes Troy Mattern joining us here on this Halloween. Shanley and Bismarck, one of the 4 quarterfinals tomorrow out in the capital city. We'll take our final break. We come back. We'll read your emails on the candy rankings, and we'll get you ready out the door for a busy Sports Thursday. Hot Mic wraps right after this on WDAY Extra, KSFL TV, and Inforum.com.